Starting to think this trail is not ADA approved. Welcome to the week. Just finished up a run. Nice, easy 40 minutes. One of the things I talked about last week is that a big goal moving forward right now that I've got my gait in a place that I feel really confident with it. I need to start working on running at a lower heart rate. So my goal today was to get as much of my run under 140 beats per minute. So that's what I wanted to see my average at. And then my primary goal, actually, that was the goal I was hoping to hit. But my definite goal was do not let it get to or above 150. And I was able to keep that, except for that last little hill there at the very end, which, it's a hill. It's a long hill at the end of a 40-minute run. I'm all right with that. But yeah, so it was really cool. I think my average heart rate was 138 through this. Felt really good. Felt really comfortable. Broke in a new pair of running shoes. Flux just put out their waterproof runners, and with the weather about to start getting a little wetter, just about ate it on my blade walking down a hill. Those felt phenomenal. Highly recommend. Those are the other runners I use and trainers I use. So, like I said, all in all, good run. Big things this week is I've got a 10K trail race here in a few days. And so more than anything, I'm just going to be kind of working on some execution things. So things about diet, I'm going to start a couple strategies in terms of bumping up carbs and a couple of things like that. Testing out some equipment on this run in terms of water and electrolytes and all that sort of jazz. And I'll get into all of that, but that is really the gist of the week. That's what we're getting into. Thanks for following along. Race morning. Slept well, feeling good, ate well yesterday, last night. Not a whole lot left to do, but do it.
Yep.
Alright, so we are here at the race. It is about 45 degrees, so it's a little bit on the chilly side, which is kind of my jam. Feel pretty good, so we've got about 25 or so minutes until we get ready to go, so just kind of starting to get warmed up. Just kind of doing the basics, and then it's all just again, it's a little bit of gear stuff. Little things like making sure you don't chafe. It's a real bad time, so just trying to make sure I check all those boxes, and then I do all that sort of stuff, and it's easier to have a good time with this. Starting to think this trail is not ADA approved. Fuck. We're just past 5 miles. I think I'm already into the longest run I've done as an amputee. This course is hard. In the home stretch, man, what a fucking feeling, man. Woo. So yeah, the race felt pretty good. Cool. It's a distance PR, so that's neat. That was the longest that I have run as an amputee. I don't really know how much further past 6 miles I ever ran before, but I don't really care. So that's pretty cool to see that, just to simply see the progress of being able to do that one. And it was a tough course. There was a solid, I think my Garmin said 800 feet worth of climbing and elevation. The race director, he told me that he measured, kind of tracked it out and said it was right about 1,000 feet worth of climbing between up and down. Really, the best things that I learned on it were, one, I learned a lot about where I'm at right now and what I need to do to get better. Just general running capacity, and then there's also the side of it, like the skills of running trails. One of the things that I'm enjoying about the off-road stuff compared to the road stuff, and while I think you need to be doing both if you're going to do trails, because like on the road it's just basic technique work and drill work and skill work, but like there's a more athletic component to the trails. So like uphill had its challenges, and then downhill was a completely different set of challenges. Like I kind of blew my right quad up on the downhills because I haven't quite learned how to load up that left quad on my blade. On top of it, the course was wet. It was covered in leaves. So like you get into some of these downhills were pretty steep, and I did not fall. I don't know how that happened. But I did not fall. As close as I got, there were times when the pad of my blade had completely slipped out, and I was a controlled slide on the back plate of that blade. And so staying up was, I don't know that impressive is the right word, but I was impressed that I didn't need it. So that was pretty cool. Like, and like, I'm not like ridiculously tired, but I'm not crazy fresh right now either. My, like I said, I blew my right quad up on the first big sets of declines. So definitely gonna need to have a lot to learn with some of the bigger hills. So that's fun though. That's a fun challenge for me. And then outside of that, I'll do like a little bit of a race recap. I'll go over some of the numbers, just some of the information. If you're interested, I'll do a race recap whenever I get home. Talk about what I liked about what I did and like what I'm going to try next, or what I think I'm going to try next. So, all right, cool. Like I said, we'll take it we'll finish this up whenever I get home. On Friday of next week, I'm headed out to Green Bay, and I am going to be participating in a ruck with this organization right here called 50 for the Fallen. And the event that they do is they do these 50-mile rucks. So there's obviously the physical side of that, but it's a really cool veterans organization that I'm like just really, really stoked that they asked me to come be a part of it. So I'm really excited to bring you that one. Then I also finished Born to Run today on my run, go figure. And then I've started my next book. It's called Endurance. It's not a book about running endurance, but it's one of the book that came very highly recommended to me, and it is about an old wooden ship. All right, so I'm using this 10K trail race as a practice run. My preparation is arguably excessive. I'll be doing more than necessary to just simply go out and run upwards of 6.5 miles. But again, it's a practice thing. One of the biggest things I've learned diving into endurance and running specifically is that it's only part running. It is a large part preparation. Like knowing your nutritional strategies, knowing your fueling strategies, mid-race, pre-race, and all that sort of stuff is a really big deal, and it's not something you want to guess at. I have this opportunity with all this time that I can start learning. So there's a couple things I'm practicing on with this race, and one of them is a little bit of carb loading. If this was the big race, this was something much bigger, I would have started this process a couple days ago and would have been carb loading for a few days. But I'm doing it in a small dose just to get a feel for how my body feels with this. So the only thing I'm really doing with my nutrition is I'm pulling back a little bit of fat, leaving some more room from the calorie standpoint for carbs, and I'm just really simple modifying my breakfast. I usually have 4 eggs, a waffle, and some grapes for breakfast. I'm pulling the eggs out, and what I'm doing for my breakfast for this is I stole straight from Nick Bear. I'm even using his brand of protein. And it's just these very calorically dense protein and carb dense waffles that I'll be using that I used for breakfast today, and I'll be using them again tomorrow morning. So in this waffle mix I'm going to use Kodiak, their Power Cake mix. You can make waffles or pancakes out of these. For taste, I'm adding some cinnamon and some vanilla extract. For protein, I'm using the BPN whey protein. I'm using the blueberry muffin flavor.
tastes phenomenal as a shake. It's honestly probably the protein that I've had that tastes the best with water as well. Milk to texture, and a couple of eggs, and a banana that's going to be mixed in there as well. Again, adding some nutrition, adding some texture to that equation. So this is a lot about just simply seeing how my body feels with this. And now here's a couple other things that I am trying out for this race. All right, so other pieces that I am giving a test drive on this run. Again, I know it's excessive for a 10K. And the reality is, though, the 10K is just a preparation for the 30K, which is very simply a way to prepare for much bigger races that I plan to get into, that I'm eyeing. And so, like I said, so first off, the little bit of equipment I'm going to test out is this little handheld water bottle. It's really simple. It hangs on the hand, so I don't have to like hold it and grasp. This came highly recommended. I got told like definitely get a handheld once you're getting to 10K or more. So there's a couple things that I like about this guy right here. One is it's one of these like soft flasks. So this got recommended. So as I drink from it, it will continue to get smaller. Whereas if I get a hard plastic water bottle, the more water I drink, the more the water is going to slosh around. So that seemed very worthwhile in terms of trying to avoid. And then the other piece of the puzzle, it's got this little pouch. I can carry my phone, I can carry whatever it is that I want. Primarily, again, nutrition. So there's two other nutrition pieces that I'm going to be using for this race. The first one's going to be this little Go Gel from BPN. If you've watched any amount of running or distance running, you know that these get used a lot. It's easy source of carbs. There's a couple factors in this one. There is the fuel source. There's the ease of consuming it on the course. Chewing, like hard food, is going to be harder to digest, but it's also going to be harder to consume and run. That's partly the big draw for a lot of these, and there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of people have found some work really well for them, and some mess with their stomach. I'm trying to, again, test these out in low volumes to get an idea on what my stomach does and doesn't tolerate. Traditionally, I've not had a lot of these issues, but it only takes learning the hard way one time to be really bummed you didn't dip your toe in the water. So I'll be trying out the BPN Go Gel. They just released these. I'm really excited about this one. Apple cinnamon flavor is also like right up my alley. That's also a piece of the puzzle. Again, 6 miles, you could probably get away without drinking a whole lot of water and get the race done without too big of a decline in terms of performance. But there's also a skill and aspect of it to just simply consuming this on the move, as well as being aware enough to consume this on the move. So this is a 20-ounce bottle. Part of my goals for this race is to consume the whole thing during the race. Again, I want to make sure that I have the ability to be aware of more than just running and to not let a plan go off the rails. Again, as I get into these longer runs, these little misses add up to much bigger consequences. So the only other thing I've got going from there is some intracarbs and electrolytes. So I'll be definitely using electrolytes the night before. I will be using them the morning of. I drink electrolytes with my water first thing every day. G1M from BPN has electrolytes and carbs in it. So one scoop's about 20 grams. I'm going to put a scoop in a shaker, and I'm going to drink that on the drive to the race. It's about 40 minutes away. And then I'm going to put a scoop in this water, so I'll be consuming it along the way. Ideally, again, if all these things go to plan, I'm going to finish the race with some fatigue, but plenty of fuel in the tank from a calorie consumption standpoint. So that's what we're testing out for this race. And now from here, it's just simple preparation, setting my stuff out the night before so I can wake up in the morning and everything is just ready to go. It is Tuesday. I'm just a few days after the race, and I just kind of want to do a little bit of a recap and analysis. Nothing too crazy in depth. The course was 10K, or I think it was just shy of 6.2 miles, like per my Garmin. I think it was like 6.1 something. So I don't think it registered in there as a 10K. The course itself was pretty tough, like in the coolest way. The incline was hard. I was ready for that challenge, and I knew that it was going to force me to walk in certain places. I think it's something that everybody kind of has to learn a little bit for themselves when it comes to this style of running, is that you are going to have to walk more than you think. And I definitely got a good dose of that in my first trail race. I was just shy of 1,000 feet of climbing for this one. And that, like I said, I was ready. I was ready for mentally. What I didn't realize was how big of a challenge the downhill was going to be. There were some very steep inclines, but there was also some pretty steep declines, downhills, with the bigger factor actually being like the weather and the conditions of it. So I've been on this trail, parts of this trail before, and I knew that it had a lot of like roots going through it, so I had to be very aware. But when we went and ran it, the leaves are starting to fall. We're at that time of year, but it was also wet. So I lost some of the visual side of being able to see where these roots are because it's all covered in leaves, and these leaves are slick. So like I had a few times where my running blade actually slipped out and I stayed up, but it was I guess it's good to know that I have that athleticism skill set to do that without injuring myself, because I'm not really feeling any negative side effects of any of the slips. But I also know that like I blew up my right quad as a result of all that. So like that's something I've got to work on here moving forward, is I need to work on going down hills in a more balanced manner and getting more out of my blade. So working on the downhills is definitely going to be a point of emphasis in terms of like what sort of stuff do I need to be training. But other than that, I would say that this pretty well went off without a hitch. I had a small portion of the course, so my right hamstring started to cramp up like this much. Put a big emphasis on getting my breathing going. I did a couple RPR drills while I was moving, and it kind of took care of itself. So no real big issue there. So not only did I not really end up having an issue, I started to, but I also learned a strategy that worked for me. So I've already got that bit of confidence under my belt. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. Other than that, like in terms of like equipment and all that, the bottle worked out great. I definitely learned that I definitely don't know how to like ration that out. My goal was to be completely empty at the end, and I probably finished it a little later than ideal, but again, no problems as a result. Again, yeah, no other real equipment sort of stuff. Shoes worked out just fine. I am looking forward to, I'm hoping that Flux is going to be putting out a pair of trail runners here soon, or soon-ish, that I'll get to do some training in. I'm really excited about that possibility. But the ones that I used worked out just fine. They're from a company called Eco. I don't know how to pronounce it. That worked out great. No real need to change that immediately. And then from there, like it was like 45 degrees. It was pretty brisk, so probably wind chill, a little bit of wind chill, and I was just fine in a pair of shorts and a long sleeve. So that bodes well for training through the winter in terms of my body's going to be just fine. And then other than that, I had a really good time. I think it took me an hour and 12 minutes. I was right in the middle of the pack. I think it was 44 participants. I think I was 22nd. My buddy Antar joined. My wife and I running this, and he ran with me the whole time. He could have run it a little faster, but he rolled with me, and that made it a lot of fun. You know, it was a really good first experience with this. Definitely plenty to build on, and definitely cannot wait to do some more. One thing I was ready to be really sore. The reality is I was really impressed with my recovery. I was not near as sore as I expected. On Monday when I went to go squat, my legs were just a little bit heavy, but that really wasn't that big a deal. It didn't really mess with me too much. And by Monday night, I felt great after getting some working out in. So definitely need to put an emphasis on moving a little bit more the next day than I did on Sunday. But here we are. So thanks a lot for watching this one. If you've followed along from the beginning, thank you even more. This is just kind of getting rolling. The next episode, we're going to Green Bay, and I'm going to take you guys along with a 50-mile ruck where I will finish at halftime on Lambeau Field in the middle of at halftime of a Packers game. So that should be pretty cool. Excited to bring all this to you. Until then.